We are back. We're playing some more of this deck. We played it between rounds of the challenge yesterday. Made a couple changes, but we went 3-2, although it probably would have been a 4-1 if we didn't drop one of the matches to focus on the challenge. But this deck is just really sick, and I feel like this deck is a little too sick just to let it be a between rounds challenge kind of thing. It started off with us having a conversation about this for a very, very long time. Loch Mare plus Enigma Jewel. In some ways, this feels like the idyllic Grange Emperor Bones thing, where we just kind of talked about it for a long time, and it just, for one reason or another, for months and months, I just do other stuff during the off-stream prep. I just didn't get around to testing it, and then I believe it's Asek, probably not exactly how you pronounce that string of text, but that username. Kind of sent us a draft of the Enigma Jewel Loch Mare thing. Back on Loch Mare. We played some Loch Mare Aether Vial. I'm interested in returning back to the Loch Mare Aether Vial, but we saw like a lot of drafts of Loch Mare Enigma Jewel instead. Loch Mare is really good. I think this card is just pretty underrated, and to some extent, this is like a card that I think I kind of expect to be able to see more play than it does. I've seen some people try it without Enigma Jewel or Aether Vial. Maybe we should try that at some point, but at the moment I'm not convinced. I've also tried some Badger Mole Cub, like Simic Shells, that are trying to play like you use just like a lot of mana acceleration from Cub to play Wan Shi Tong and Loch Mare, and I'm still interested in that. Although I've every time I build that deck, it looks like a standard deck, but sometimes that's not such a bad thing. But back to this one. So we want Enigma Jewel to be our mana engine for Loch Mare. And we saw a draft that like it had one copy of Vedalken Shackles, which I thought was kind of interesting, but the mana that we saw just didn't really support it. So I decided, why not try leading more into Vedalken Shackles? There's a lot of Boros. It's pretty good against Flage. It's maybe good against Prowess. And I was immediately pretty impressed with like Jewel plus Shackles, just being able to go Shackles turn 3, steal your best thing. That was pretty interesting. And then I found this, or maybe I don't know. I unearthed a rock, and there it was, a Claws of Gix. I mean, Claws of Gix has been, a bit more in like our modern consciousness with the Affinity deck. I remember we were one of the early adopters of it with the weapons manufacturing tech. But the idea is that you could tutor this off your Urza Saga, and you could use your Shackles to steal your opponent's creature, just sack it to Claws, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again. You could also use Phenomena Recorder to copy the Shackles ability and steal two things. Recorder, just very good in this deck. You can copy Field of Ruin, Urza Saga trigger, or token activation, Tamiyo minus, Tamiyo clue generation, clue sacrifice, Wan Shi Tong, ETB, Loch Mare activated ability. Recorder is really good. I don't think you want to play more than one because you just tutored off Saga, although I think it's kind of interesting. And then so yeah, the deck is kind of built around that interaction, and then you're playing. You have a lot of card advantage, so you get to be playing the pitch blue cards really, really comfortably. Compared to yesterday's build, I ended up cutting the second Dismember for the first Mox Opal. There was a few times I wanted to get a Mox Opal off Urza Saga yesterday, just get a bit of mana. We are like a pretty mana hungry deck. I kind of wanted the fourth Saga tutor target anyways, so I feel like it's like combo piece and Claws of Gix, Graveyard Hate with Relic, card advantage with Phenomenal Recorder, and then mana with Opal. I think that makes sense in general. And then I ended up cutting the Vexing Bauble and the second Relic in the sideboard for Grafdigger's Cage, where this covers the Reanimator slash oh, now it's gone. Reanimator slash Neoform slash Yawgmoth better than Vexing Bauble did, or maybe I should say it's Reanimator Neoform and then also covers Yawgmoth, unlike Vexing Bauble, and then you don't really need to play. You don't need to play a ton of Graveyard Hate for Flage because you have Shackles for Flage. Which is really nice. Like one thing about building a fair deck in Modern is you have you have to have a Graveyard Hate for Flage, and like weirdly Shackles is like flips the script because you could just steal the Flage. So that opened up a sideboard slot to let us play the third Stern Scolding in the sideboard, so I could just have the full 4 post board against Boros, which I think is very important to buy yourself time for Shackles to take over the game. I think that those are all the changes from yesterday, but I'm just very excited for this one. I'm so excited that I made sure to have pretty islands for today, since we're gonna have a lot of them. So we have a Jewel. We have a Jewel plus Loch Mare. We have a bunch of blue pitch. Don't love the Oven. Immediately, the Oven being 1 mana is a bit awkward here, maybe, but I think I'm gonna keep. We have to draw land, obviously, but Opal's also online. Steam Vents go. Did draw the lands. Let me. I think I don't want to play Loch Mare into obvious removal spell. I might get to go like Wan plus Force of Negation if they like crack a fetch this turn. Well, this worked out pretty good. Maybe they have another discharge? Oh, cool. It's a Scryfall today. Is it April? It's okay, tomorrow this is their April Fool's thing. Cool. Then they prismatic ending my jewel. And I drew a Shackles and a Subtlety. A lot of removal over there, huh? Then they surveil. Big Graveyard Helping Hand, so maybe they're playing our... Oh, they didn't reveal Obosh, though. So they're not playing our build. Yeah, so I forgot about the Reese thing. Alright, let me attack for 2. I'm going to play my 1-drops, I guess. Yeah, Oven's also better with Opal. Not super into Reese in this kind of shell, maybe, where like you kind of need your opponent to be killing your stuff, with the exception of Solitude. Like it doesn't do much unless your opponent removal spells your stuff, like my opponent loves to do. They've played 1, 2, 3, 4 removal spells so far, and they play a FOMO. They discard a Hallowed Fountain, and then they miss their land for turn after discarding a land. So maybe I can shackle the FOMO next turn. Oven, great suggestion, by the way, has allowed us to shackles here. Three cards there, him. They've already used 2 endings as well. They do get to attack for 4 here. Yeah, I do think Rice is interesting with Emperor. You get to reset the Emperor. It's pretty slow. But I think I would just need to play some sack outlets if I was going to play Reese. Maybe like Chthonian Nightmare would be interesting. Yeah, I know it lets you scam Solitude, but I just feel like it needs to do more than scam Solitude against a lot of decks. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but at least if I'm going to play 4 copies, I don't know. They have the 3rd Prismatic Ending. 3rd Prismatic Ending would be good here. Seems like it. I don't know what else this could be. Oh, I guess that makes sense. So I'm 3 islands away from stealing the Oculus. I can steal the manifests and like I can shackle manifest and oven them every turn, I guess. A little late on being able to subtlety as well. So, chat, if I steal the manifest, I guess I should have asked this a second ago because maybe this would be an Oculus. But if I steal the manifest, then can I flip it? Well, I guess I should have stole main phase, huh? So they're playing FOMO instead of being able to Obosh, which is interesting. Might be good. Although I wouldn't have been able to flip that. Can't you talk this? It's power, not mana value on Shackles. So they're almost definitely playing Casey Jones. If you consign the front half of Casey Jones, they don't have to discard on the back half. I don't see why not. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but yeah, maybe not. Or maybe it just obviously works. So Scolding counters Tamiyo, which if they're probably playing Tamiyo, although it can be a little hard to get the Tamiyo because it's 1 mana. It doesn't counter Flage, it doesn't counter Oculus, it doesn't counter Casey. It does counter Fear of Missing Out. I think it's not so good against them. Although the snares are also not so good against them. Like Snare probably only hits FOMO, and then maybe Scolding hits something else. I don't really have much else to bring in. I guess Disputes could be okay. Let's do 0 Snare, 1 Scolding, 2 Disputes. Okay, on the play. Yeah, we needed 5 islands, and we're stumbling on mana all game. Another 1-land jewel hand. Although we do have Relic, which is like one of our best cards against them. And we have a lot of juice for the jewel. I'm going to mulligan on the play, I think. It's pretty close. Not drawing as well today as we did yesterday. Should have kept the 7, I guess. This is not a bad 4. I love this deck. I feel like there's a lot of tension between Saga and Shackles generally being a control deck. Well, Saga lets you get Witch's Oven, which allows you to sack stuff to Shackles, which is nice. Without that, I don't know that I just don't like Shackles that much. I agree that there's some tension. I think you could like I wanted to play like 8 fields instead, and then okay, so I guess now we're probably leaning more into the construct plan, so that because they're really big with Tamiyo. Nice they didn't discard anything to helping hand, and they discarded a helping hand. They don't have the delirium for unholy heat. When I was playing the Jeskai Winter Night deck, like not being able to heat Tamiyo turn 1 was definitely really awkward. They play a Foundry untapped, and then they kill my Urza Saga. So maybe I'm flipping Tamiyo here. Not a bad mold to 4. One thing I don't like about flipping Tamiyo, I guess, is that if they do have Unholy Heat, it's not like the flip Tamiyo is... It's kind of worse into Heat, maybe, because I'm like not getting another card. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all. I'll flip the Tamiyo. Like if I go ++ and then they find Delirium, that's what I mean. So I guess I'm 1 mana short next turn of going play field, play recorder, and then copy the field activated ability. I could copy the Tamiyo +1 if for some reason I thought that was relevant. I guess it's not all that relevant. Although maybe I should just wait to like steal 2 things with Shackles. My opponent has land, instant, sorcery in the yard, so still no Delirium. I do really suspect that they have Unholy Heat in their hand. They kill my Enigma Jewel. Fair enough. I'm kind of interested in fielding the Arena of Glory this turn. And playing the Recorder. Let's do that, although... Wait, no longer having Jewel in play to go Shackles plus Steel in one go is a bit tough. Be nice to win on the mold of 4 here. Totally okay with this getting consigned. They float a blue mana and then they don't do anything. Maybe they heard me. Then they let the blue mana go. I might... Maybe it depends a little bit on what they do. But I might just try to like copy the Tamiyo to like play around like Ragavan or FOMO like with haste next turn. So they flashback a looting. So now I'm really scared of them just getting Delirium and heating the Tamiyo. They discard a Fear of Missing Out on a Spell Pierce, and here comes the heat. Yeah. Although maybe I get to resolve the Shackles through like a possible Consign. Field of Ruin would be maybe nice. I don't know how many basics they're playing, but it's probably not more than 3, and I could like copy the field and kill both these. They play a Scalding Tarn, 5 cards in their hand here. Maybe just all interaction. No, they go to their second main phase. Prismatic Ending my Shackles. Meltdown. Oh, dude. I mean, Tamiyo with Force of Negation up is definitely not a bad place to be after the mold of 4 and getting Meltdown, heated, a double wear teared. The second main phase Meltdown's like extra tough too. I feel like Flage is coming. Sorry, I can feel it coming. Okay, no, it's not there. They do keep a card on top though. 3 cards in their hand. They play a land immediately. It's an Oculus. All right. Can't beat Oculus. Let's play at least one more match. We did so well with the deck yesterday. To get slaughtered like this today is heartbreaking, but maybe our luck will turn around. I'm gonna mulligan this. My opponent's also on a mull to 6. Keeping this. I think I'm gonna put back the Relic. If I want it, if I need Relic, I can probably get off the Saga in time. Misty Rainforest, so maybe Neoform, maybe Living Ends. Maybe Simic Ritual. Having the subtlety against possible Neoforms obviously pretty nice. They do keep a card on top here. Then they play Wooded Foothills. I feel like Wooded Foothills is more likely Neoform. It kind of can't be Living End, right? So am I pitching Loch Mare or am I pitching one? I think I'm pitching the Loch Mare. I think I'm maybe more likely to just draw a card off Tamiyo digging. This is a good matchup. We're a 4 subtlety, 4 Force of Negation deck, by the way. We also have a cage in the sideboard. They do keep it on top. So if they won't be able to go for it next turn. And we found a Force of Negation. So it should be fine here. Best matchup. Okay, I guess I'm making constructs now. Yeah, I don't think the decks look too bad. Just a long string of variants. I'm open to keep playing some. I do have a backup deck. Feeling good right now. Feeling good about our spot right now. All right, they did draw a green card, green card. All right, see you in game 2, opponent. See you, Space Cowboy. Yeah, a lot of people complain about Neoform. Neoform is just the kind of deck that I like. I like its presence because it's just one of these decks that's really easy to hate on if you for any deck really. A lot easier with these cards. I do want the disputes also. Dismember is good if they bring in Oculus. I want to cut all the shackles though, and then cut the oven because we're cutting shackles. So that leaves me with 3 going to be kind of mediocre spots. We could play Scolding because sometimes they bring in Ice Fang. Probably not super good to do. I think I'll just play a couple consigns. This sometimes are good against Galta, ETB, Xenagos Trigger. I guess that's more so for Galta anyways. Sometimes you can consign Replicate and kill them with their packs. Like if they did go double pack and you consign their Replicate. Which of the names just replacement sack outlet? Yes. I think it's better. Alright, I will play the Jewel here. Doing pretty good against Allosaurus Rider, I think. But maybe reading Enigma Jewel. They play Wooded Foothills and pass the turn. If my opponent plays Ice Fang into turn, I think I'll dispute. Could try to dispute Neoform, but if they have Evolution, I get kind of cooked. So yeah, I think we dispute this. Also, when you counter their like cantrips, it can be very good sometimes. Maybe that goes without saying. Not the worst draw. Now we're good against the Rider plan, and we're good against the Ice, or we have more at game against the Ice Fang plan. Like we could just let Neoform resolve, and then we could dismember the Oculus. Although I don't necessarily expect them to just jam. They might just jam if they have like the rest of the combo too. Oh, it will be a 6/6. Okay, I'm gonna dismember this now then. All right, now I've got no cards in my hand. They still have one. If this is like another dispute, it's another dispute. No, I so blew this Dismember, dude. I just was scared of the Neoform. Okay, well, obviously we're not in, the worst shape ever, but that's any top deck Neoform. Seeing all these Ice Fangs, I think I'm probably going to just be more in on Scoldings. This is a 3-turn clock. Urza Saga is a good draw, maybe. Loch Mare would... I could stun counter. Why do we dismiss Dakota? Do they play through this for Neoform? Yes, they play... I guess we're just hoping they draw Neoform. But they side into Ice Fang and Oculus. So looking to draw Loch Mare, I guess, or go to game 3. All right. But so they could Neoform into Oculus, and then Dismember couldn't kill the Ice Fang, or so kill the Oculus. So I was scared of them Neoforming the Ice Fang second main phase. And I probably shouldn't have been that paranoid about it. Why? Yeah, again, because if they Neoform, it gets the counter, which I also forgot about it, and then I panicked, Dismembered. What is the version of this deck that can run Pyro Star Sphere for the Jewel mana? I had a build like that was trying to use Amulet of Vigor plus Enigma Jewel. So you would get multiple amulets in play, and then you would Enigma Jewel make like 6 mana, and then you could filter with stars and spheres, but you also had the Lord of the Rings. What is that card called? The Rockets. Like the firework card that would allow you to. Okay, I definitely want to get a cage off this. I think it's probably better to just be sacking with Tamiyo. Yeah, Wizard's Rockets, and then Wizard's Rockets let you like filter all of that mana. It was kind of interesting. I don't know if that one ever got streamed. I think that one may have been just an off-stream experiment. I can't really remember. The Talisman version. Yeah, Enigma Jewel Talismans I think were also kind of cool. Did we ever do Talisman Enigma Jewel after Mox Opal unban? 100% play the Mare there. Well, so my thoughts on not playing the Mare is my deck is full of subtleties and Force of Negations, and I'm like really interested in having a density of blue cards to pitch. I have some degree of inevitability once this Saga comes off to get Grafdigger's Cage to stop Neoform, and if I can just buy a pile of cards, it's going to be, I think, really tough to lose. So certainly I don't think it would be 100% Neoform, but if you would like to lay out your arguments for Loch Mare there instead, I would of course be open to hearing you. So this is going to slow down my Grafdigger's Cage aspirations. Am I hyped for the new spoiler season starting today? Yeah, I am. I like most people were not very into the turtles, and so I think this is fine. And so new spoiler season, yes, exciting. Jewel is interesting with coffers. Jewel activates coffers, and flip Jewel goes infinite with coffers deserted temple. We've barked up this tree a little bit. It's not uninteresting. I agree. Now, possibly bad to play this because maybe I just need to draw another pitch card here. Maybe I shouldn't have snared the Genesis, but I think I tend to like to use these snares somewhat aggressively if I have a pitch card, so they don't have infinite time to assemble like multiple packs and like Veil of Summers plus the combo. They play a Breeding Pool tapped, and then they do some thinking. After they're thinking, they decide to go to their second main phase. Draw a card on the Mare. Once Mare is out of our hand, we never have to tap out again, and have all the cards that the Mare provides plus holding up Force in my case. Yeah, I think that's a fine case. I just don't think it's 100% the play there, but a fine case for sure. So I think I'm interested in, if I draw a blue card. I didn't draw the blue card. Flipping Tamiyo is like so game over, but if I miss on the blue card, it's pretty awkward. I guess they kind of have to. Okay, I did miss again, but I can play around Veil of Summer by using Subtlety this turn. It doesn't beat Dispute or and it doesn't beat Pact, but I think it's okay. Just finding any blue card there is so good, and then my ability to minus Tamiyo is game over next turn basically. Yeah, Mare and Tamiyo are kind of similar. Well, probably GG to minus there with what's in my hand. So they have 6 cards in their hand now. And they just concede. Okay. Keeping this. What's the Coffers Enigma Temple Infinite combo? That sounds fun. So Enigma Jewel copies activated abilities, right? I guess we don't have one in our hands. Okay, so whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you have a deserted temple in play, you get to untap your deserted temple, and then you get to untap your Cabal coffers, and then that makes infinite mana. My opponent suspends a Lotus Bloom, so I guess my Wand's not going to be so good, but should be a good matchup overall. Does my I mean, my Wand's good if I draw field. It's kind of it. Probably just gonna play Urza Saga this turn. Then Snare if they play a Thundertrap Trainer. Also works with Sunken Citadel. Seems correct. One top, one bottom. Orderly Plaza in play. There's a Shackles. Probably not going to be very good against Belcher. Would love to draw some Field of Ruins. Love to draw Force of Negation. So Lotus Bloom on one counter here. Maybe they have Whir up. I'm gonna go to make a construct, I think. Yeah, I think being really in on like flipping Enigma Jewel for your combo is not a great plan generally. It's just like it's asking a lot. Stinks a little bit to shrink the construct pre-combat, but I think I don't want to flip the Tamiyo, lose my Mox Opal mana, and just tell my opponent I'm digging for Force of Negation. I think I want to maybe represent a little bit more strength and make them feel like they have to like play around stuff. Now they end up not using their mana. Maybe they had Sync, and maybe they feel like they just want Sync to like hardcast Belcher this turn. Did rebuild a Rat King deck. I built a mono black one that we played on stream, and then I built like 5 or 6 off stream, and none of them made the cut. So I love that they have Tamashi, of course. Let me go Subtlety, pitch 1. And then maybe they'll fight over this. And maybe they'll just cast Tamashi again next turn. So I think I'm trying to race. That made the cut. Yeah, they just like I don't know. It was okay. It was very okay, but it's like every time I felt that I rose Rat King to be a modern playable card, every time I felt like I jumped through the hoops to make that happen, it seemed like maybe I should play Shackles main phase one. But sorry, again, every time I jumped through the hoops to make Rat King a modern playable card, it felt like I was making just a deck that was worse than like a different way to build it. Like I could have built the deck in a way that was better if I wasn't jumping through these hoops to make Rat King playable. Does that make sense? Like it wasn't the worst thing ever, but it just seemed like there were better ways to build any of them. And like there were ways to make Rat King playable, but none of those were better than just building your deck differently. Okay, Force Pitch Preordain. Good job, Shackles. Totally happy with that exchange. So next turn, I'm attacking for 7, and my opponent is at 8. If I look up this record card, it sure is bad. I don't know. It comes down as 3 power if you've cracked a fetch. The next turn, it's 6 power for 2 mana that can also reanimate something, sometimes multiple things. But yeah, maybe it's bad. Maybe I don't fucking know. Is Belcher afraid of Shackles? I mean, they're going to be afraid of Shackles when they topped Tamiyo off of a Subtlety, and their plan is to cast Tamiyo this turn, and I could just steal the Tamiyo. So it's kind of tough, the decision to sack Clue Token or not. They do put the Tamiyo back on top. If I don't sack, I can draw Field of Ruin, one of my 3 other artifact tutor targets, or Vedalken Shackles to win. So I think I would not sack the draw, and I was going to draw Subtlety, which would have been pretty good. That being said, my opponent maybe just messed up by sacking the Lotus for the Tamiyo there. I'm going to bring in 4 Consigned Memories, 3 Mystical Disputes, and a Pithing. Let me know if the audio sounds weird. I moved a knob on accident there. So maybe just down, however, not fix my interface. Oh, I just have to go to Micro Center, which is a pretty out of the way. And, it is an annoying glitch, but it's like, I need to buy a new one. And it's like, once a day I have to unplug and replug a cable. It's like, I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm sorry if it's really annoying for you. All right, no lands, but 1 Mox Opal in both those hands. I'm gonna keep this on the mull to 5 on the draw. Would like to have the Scolding. So lead on the Saga so I can try to find Needle for Belcher. If I do draw an island, I think I'm gonna lead on the Jewel. Motivational Riddler or what? Well, I mean, the first Riddler is really good. I had a flex spot. Quantum Riddler has diminishing returns to some extent. Maybe that's not. Maybe that dynamic is not really that true, but to some extent, it's like, the first Riddler is gonna be really good to draw. Extra Riddlers are gonna kind of be a little clunky in this mana intensive deck. You're more likely to have like an emptier hand to make use of the first copy of Quantum Riddler than you are in multiples. This deck is not playing Ephemerate or Reanimation effects or Psychic Frog to like make max use of Quantum Riddler, but I think the first copy is still pretty good. So you have to kind of evaluate it through that lens of interaction rather than your normal lens, maybe. Okay, so I did draw an island, although we're gonna go field into Jewel this turn probably. Although maybe instead. Calvin Charbelcher. I probably do want to actually consign the Lotus Field cast, the Lotus Bloom cast, so they can't Tamiyo me. I'm surprised to see you side out Riddler when you add a consign for an early beater. I'm not gonna ever on turn 3 go warp Quantum Riddler and consign the trigger against Belcher. I'm always going to just like I'm always going to hold up Consign against this deck and just take the card draw. So we do like this so the bloom doesn't go into the yard, although they just counterspell. And they play a lab, untapped, 4 cards in their hand there. Maybe I should have led on the Tamiyo, because if they counter the Tamiyo, then I play the Loch Mare. I guess I will. We'll see. I mean, I want them to counter this, but if they counter this, then so if they don't counter this, then I'll play Tamiyo, and if they counter that, I can go Loch Mare and then draw 1 or 2 cards. If that makes sense. And I need to untap with this to get value. I don't need to untap with this to get value. Even Stevens to the 3 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Although Loch Mare doesn't get Stern Scolding, so I could have played around that. Kind of thought it was Dispute. Maybe they have Dispute also, but thought maybe they were just reading, like, maybe they had Dispute and they're thinking about disputing this. Maybe they're just reading the Jewel instead. They played Orderly Plaza tapped. 3 cards in their hand. They cast a Tezzeret the Seeker. Will they decide to plus first? They could put a Bloom into play maybe this turn, and the next turn get a Belcher. Instead, they just put a Belcher in play. I feel like I would be kind of inclined to put a Bloom into play first. I don't think I'm in like a big rush to cash in the Teferi necessarily. Not that it's a big deal. Maybe it's bad to play my land first here because of top deck Field of Ruin. They can't Scolding this. They could Dispute. Can't pay for Dispute with Jewel. Maybe if my opponent has Gift a Fish card here, then we lose if that's one of the 2 unknown cards. I don't think. Yeah, we don't really have much we could draw. Yeah, Flood Maw. Well, I have a fish and I am dead. I guess we'll see what their build is. We'll go to game 3. A little bit of an awkward mulligan on our part. That does make sense on the Teferi minus. I once played a format. What was the format called? I don't know. Oathbreaker maybe. But the idea was it was kind of like Commander, but the decks were 60 cards. And you had your commander was a planeswalker, but instead of and you also got a signature spell that was like a second commander, but you could only play it while you had your planeswalker in play, which I thought was kind of an interesting deck building concept. And I ended up building Tezzeret the Seeker as my planeswalker commander, Oathbreaker. And then my signature spell was Mana Severance. So I would go play Tezzeret, I would minus for Goblin Charbelcher, and I would cast Mana Severance first. And then I would just get all the lands out of my deck, and then I would Charbelcher people. I thought it was pretty fun. And then my deck was just full of, artifact mana. Keep. We're on the play against Belcher. I don't know if I'm keeping this hand in any other matchup, but I am keeping it here. Am I going to lead on Field of Ruin? I think I just want to get the Needle out there. They have Force of Negation in their hand. Oh, sure. Totally okay with that exchange. Although I was kind of looking forward to copying these fields. They do have a Lotus Bloom to suspend. They have 2 Lotus Blooms to suspend. And I don't have a Vexing Bauble to get off the Saga. And I don't have a Consign yet. So this could be some problem. Although we do have a Needle for Belcher and like Scolding for Tamashi. Alright, so Pithing Needle. Let's name Goblin Charbelcher. And then we didn't see a basic last game, although maybe they didn't see Fields game 1. If they have one, maybe they boarded it in just for game 3. That would be bad, obviously. Okay, thankfully that's not the case. So they took the Blooms down to 1. If we can top deck a Consign, that would make this game really easy, I guess. Although we wouldn't be able to Consign with another piece of counter magic up for whatever that's worth. Well, Field again. Good Needle Bloom. Needle does not stop mana abilities, and Bloom is a mana ability. A mistake you only make once. If they don't have another untapped land, we can dispute Tezzeret. Consign is even awkward against double bloom. Not that awkward. You can't counter both. Oh, right. They don't trigger at the same time. Sorry, for some reason I was thinking you could. Okay, maybe we could also maybe disputed a bloom this turn, but then they could resolve Tamishi. We can name bloom with anything. Well, it maybe some amount of the time naming bloom. Maybe they won't sack it. Yeah, I guess you can counter one of the stack and then counter one of the suspends to buy the other one for a turn. It's true. Another untapped land, but they just play it tapped. So I'm going to play another Saga. So I do not want to field, because if they go Flood Maw, I'm not going to field now. Well, I guess I field end of turn. Because if they go Flood Maw into Belcher, then I could still dispute. But if I and then replay the Needle next turn. But if they I won't be able to do that if they go for it here. They have 4 cards in their hand. I thought Suspend only tried to cast once since it was on the last counter, having not removed. Since it was on the last counter, I have not removed their cast. Yeah, that's true. Usually you want to counter the last Suspend, but you just can't counter. You can't counter the removal of the last Suspend counter on both of them with a replicated Consign, is what we're saying. So they are sacking the bloom. They're floating white mana. I scold you for this, Tamishi. I can pay for dispute, which is nice. Don't they both go on the step on upkeep? But they both go on the stack. The removal goes on the stack, but then one is removed. Then the trigger of the cast goes on the stack. You need to consign that. Maybe I'm not explaining myself well. So one Lotus Bloom dealt with. I don't know, fam. It doesn't work. Look it up. Trust me. All right, so they have 4 mana. We draw a Jewel. So now we don't really need to be so worried about Belcher. I think we can afford to tap out for a Loch Mare. Although, it did kind of seem like they had dispute, but maybe we have to have dispute plus Tamishi plus untap land anyways. I'm gonna get Mox Opal. I think I'm gonna save the Jewel so I can have just as much blue mana up and then double draw end of turn if they don't play into my my ham. We saw an actual factual counterspell last game, so nice to have Snare up. Not crazy to dispute this. I think it's not. Is this Imri? I don't think so. I think that's just another merfolk. Sorry to all the merfolk out there. Oh, maybe I should have played one because I drew the field. Is Cauldron plus Loch Mare too clunky bad for stuff like Patchwork Automaton or Ledger Shredder? Yeah. It's on no flares with preordains with counter spells. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure that's how we built it before the flare build came out. I think the flare build is better. It's my last Field of Ruin. Both's a good draw. Now Tamishi's not so good. They've got 5 cards in their hand, and very restricted on mana. If my opponent bounces my needle end of turn, I mean they can't even really Belcher and activate. I think I would just let it resolve. Oh, flip! You want to flip the Enigma Jewel? It's kind of funny. It's kind of an interesting thought. But yeah, it should be pretty safe here. We have Relic up for Tamashi, which is like kind of the only thing that gets him out of this. Then we have Lethal next turn. But no, we didn't have enough mana to flip the Jewel. It's 5, 6, 7, 8. Like flipping Jewel is like in games that has gone like way too long. I when I have conversations with you guys, it's not awkward. So the ring was legal. Yeah, I don't think that we ever circled back to the Enigma Jewel Signet engine with Upheaval. I do remember playing this deck and thinking how sick Opal would be. The One Ring sure was a big part of this deck working. But Enigma Jewel with Signets is pretty cool. Like you get to go like turn 1 Jewel, turn 2 Signet, then filter the mana, play another Signet, filter the mana again, play another Signet. It's a pretty interesting package. Okay, my opponent's gone Strand go. I'm gonna go and I guess play a Loch Mare. Have we discussed the Guac and Marshmallow? Is that a username? What is that? Helix Modern Deck Top 60 Modern Challenge. Is it just Retraction Helix in the to me that sounds like it's just Retraction Helix in Sewer Valence combo. I'm not a big Sewer Valence combo fan. I don't think the combo is very good. Is that the name of a card? Guac and Marshmallows? I can revolt for us. I can lead the revolution, guys. Okay, this is a card. When it enters, target creature gets +2/+turn. Untap it. Wait, is it untap ability? This is not. Wait, there's an untap codes in the set? Alright, I guess I play a Loch Mare now that I have 2. I don't think the card's legal in Modern. Is it? It is? Ugh, Bowmaster. Although they don't get to kill my Loch Mare because I have 3 toughness. Need to get the Shackles resolved though. Maybe not. Maybe it's just fine. Well, definitely. Okay, Guac and Marshmallow Pizza. Oh, sorry. I thought when I was reading this in the chat, I thought it had like an untap clause. So when this enters, it gets tap target creature and it gets +2/+2. Target creature +2/+2 and untap it. And so this deck was playing 4 copies of this card. So that you can go Retraction Helix your Devoted Druid and then cast this over and over again. That's pretty crazy. I'm gonna block so that if my I think I'm gonna block so that if my opponent plays another Bowmaster, I can resolve Shackles. I guess they could have another Spell Pierce, but I mean at that point we're kind of cooked. I can't believe they got top 6. I mean the deck doesn't look very good, so that's good, I suppose. Baiting like random Force of Negation with this. You have another Spell Pierce. You have another Spell Pierce. All right. So thank you for your sacrifice, Loch Mare. No, opponent. You don't want to do that. No. So I can untap the Shackles, and I could also I could copy the Shackles ability next turn. Or if they would ever field my field here. So this kind of signals to me that they have like Wan in their hand and they want to resolve it for the field. But I'm like totally okay with that because I have a Shackles. I can just steal the Wan. All right, so maybe I'll bait counterspell slash subtlety with Tamiyo. Do I want to redraw Tamiyo? I think no. I'm just gonna draw a card. I'm okay to let the subtlety attack for one, especially because um or once because I can just copy the Shackles ability maybe. Definitely happy to draw that. Did not draw a land though. We'll chump the orc with my orc and feel like this is just so hard for my opponent to beat here. They play a polluted delta. They go to combat. I'm going to take 3 and block here. They've got 2 cards in their hand. They're in their instep and they're doing some thinking. They decide not to do anything else. I'm just going to go to combat, attack for 2, and just chill here, especially if my opponent's going to play 1. I want to be able to steal the 1 and the subtlety. I've never seen Shackles before. How do we get the Sick Brew? So it started off because we had Loch Mare Aether Vial, and that deck performed like a lot better than we expected. And I wanted to play Loch Mare Enigma Jewel, and then this is just the result of me finally getting around to Loch Mare Enigma Jewel. I guess I'm gonna Shackle and copy. But Shackles used to be much more of a card in Modern. And Enigma Jewel, and also Camera, and the tech of like getting a sack outlet off Saga. All these things make it better than it used to be, which is key for these cards that haven't seen play in a long time. Of course, is being better than they used to be. So we can get in. If they play 1, I might just stun counter with the Loch Mare. Isn't copying Field of Ruin the best thing ever? I mean, not on this board because they also get the lands, and I don't have a 1 in play, but it is really fun, yeah. So they do have a 1, so I think we're just gonna let this go, and then I guess I could put a second stun counter on it by copying, or I could warp a Riddler. I think I don't care too much about warping Riddler because I don't get the extra card. But yeah, let's just put an extra stun counter on the 1. I don't really know how they beat this. So we get to hit them for 10 down to 3, 3 lethal creatures. 1 has 2 stun counters. Still have a counter on my camera, and they concede. Very fun game. I sacrificing the Loch Mare to the Bowmaster there. I maybe just wanted that game to be able to resolve the Shackles, which is pretty fun. We do have some mystical disputes to bring in. Force of Negation's not so good. It's not so good. Scolding always counters 1, right? Yeah. So Scolding seems great. Force, they just always tap out on your turn, basically. I think I'm gonna keep in the Witch's Oven. Hey Jarvis. Shackle seems good, especially because like my opponent's gonna do some fighting over it. I don't know if I want this. I think the Shackles are better to removal than Dismember. I don't think Dismember is particularly good. We could maybe cut a Jewel. It was pretty bad to draw 2 copies that game. I think that's fine, since we're not gonna have to be pitching it as often as we are in other matchups. Well, this is a hand with only 1 land. Maybe we mulligan. They have kept their 7. Let's put back Loch Mare number 3. My opponent plays Delta, and they pass the turn. My opponent graveyards a Bowmaster off the Undercity Sewers. Then they Fatal Push the Tamiyo. And then they missed their second land. I guess I'm going to slam this Loch Mare. So I kind of doubt that they have another copy of Fatal Push, because I probably would have pushed the Loch Mare before I got to untap and draw cards. So I'm going to play the Tamiyo, and I guess I should... Wait, they do have another push? Oh, it's a Cling. I guess I'm just going to draw... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to draw now because of Bowmaster. Like, I had a reason for doing this, and then I forgot as I monologue. That happens sometimes on stream. I'll have a reason for starting to do something, and then I'll forget what it was mid thought. All right, so I think we just attack, get our value, and pass. Opponent takes 2. See if they have anything here. Shieldred's Edict would be interesting. I think I'm just gonna sack Tamiyo. Could also just peel a counter from the Loch Mare and say I got enough value out of this and keep the Tamiyo going. I think the thing is, I like keeping up my mana. I like maybe baiting Bowmaster by peeling a counter off Loch Mare. Although now we maybe get got if they have like a 1 mana counter spell to go after my Scolding. So maybe I could have done this in upkeep. But I think I just want to be pressuring their life total since they're stumbling so much. Let me know what you're doing there. I think it's a pretty interesting spot. Having all of the 1 mana counter spells feels good for sure. Maybe they have a second Edict, but now we have Snare. They do keep a card on top, probably a land. Then they play a Field of Ruin. They tap the Watergrave for a blue, main phase, and then pass. To their second main phase. Now I've got a 4/5. Do I want to sack the Clue? I think let's not sack the Clue, although I think it's kind of close. Can't fight over this super well. I think that's okay. I don't know how well they can beat Shackle. Shackle seems really tough for them. Shout out Rusty Shackleford, Texas hero. But I think I can just, like, fight really hard over this, and then they seem so tough for them to beat. I'm going to use Dispute since I have 2 of them. These can get dead in the late game, and sometimes, like, Consult the Star charts in the late game you need the Snare for. Yeah, but they couldn't beat Shackles game 1, and I built a deck, and I don't think I could beat a Shackles. So see if they field my Saga in response to the ability to make mana. I kind of don't really expect the Saga will go unfielded, but if they field the Saga this turn, I get to relic their Cling to Dust. Kaito good versus Shackles. That's true. Kaito, if they're, and I don't usually play the Kaito, but it's also clear that's your out to Shackles. So them going for Cling is pretty interesting. Because now I'm able to field their field. And then also my relic probably contains their Cling. I don't think I'm super in a rush to pop this now. But now maybe I get to make some constructs. Yeah, I thought they would have felt like they had to field and not expose themselves to this play. They do get to draw a card. And you know they need lands, so there's that. There's a lands. Should you revisit the Peter Parker's camera repurposing deck shell with Krang? I don't think that would be a very good Krang deck. Krang like needs like weapons manufacturing Pinnacle Emissary. Why not relic yourself to deny the draw? Oh, I should have done that. Good play, good play, good play, good play, good play. I haven't been playing a lot of relics lately. No shot, they have Dispute. Wow. Okay, so now we do battle against Kaito, I guess. Yeah, punish for not having the second dispute. So I could draw 2 cards off the wand. Seems probably not the direction to go. I think I'm gonna play a Loch Mare and make a Saga token with both of these / Shackles up. So this is a 4/5 right now. Now it's a 5/6. Yeah, wait. Yeah, Shadow Spear to steal Kaito. I guess that would work. I guess not in the deck, but so I'm down to 15. They have 5 cards in their hands. Most of them are spells. All of them are spells. So let me remove a counter from this first so I can play around Bowmaster better. They have a dress down? No. Even though Kaito's kind of weird, I think it's good design. The parts all work like it's the perfect power level. I think for modern, I think it's pretty good design, although I usually think it's not one I love. Mostly because it's a grindy card that's bad against Boros, but perhaps I've judged Kaito too harshly. I do think I'm gonna get the oven because I've got the shackles. Although I have all these sagas. I guess I'll just get Opal first. Actually, the Opal's been a pretty good addition to the deck. So we'll see if they have a fatal push to save Kaito for this turn. Not really much I can do about that. I could like maybe put the Kaito to 2, but it's probably better to just keep mana up. They do have the push. That's a Boros problem more than a Kaito problem. I mean, I feel like you're talking about like the format as a whole, but I mean, I think it's a Kaito problem that this grindy card is bad and the against the main deck you need some grind against. You know what I mean? We could have gotten camera. We could have. I don't know how good camera is here. So 5/6, not going to be able to make enough artifacts to just block. Yeah, maybe make 2 artifacts, maybe 2 constructs there. A little bit worried about explosives on 0 though. Can't we double block and kill? How does blocking Kaito work? Again, I'm not tapping the relic because of Cling to Dust. I just want to target myself now that we know that trick. If you block Kaito, do loyalty counters get removed? If you deal lethal damage. Okay, but if you deal lethal damage, it dies. If you deal lethal damage, it dies. But what happens if do loyalty counters get removed? No, it needs to be lethal damage. Okay, cool. I guess we'll get the camera. Mom, get the camera. I think we'll just ignore the Kaito now. Thing is, this does nothing. Like I can go Relic and Shackles. All right, I guess I'll allow this to do nothing. Let's play with Snapcaster Mage here. Now this is a stack. Now they consign their own Snapcaster triggered ability. Maybe we should have snared the Snapcaster to add to the stack. Alright, GG's, fun. Fun game. I guess let's get a 4-1 prediction. Definitely a nice bounce back. Shackle's been performing well. It was very good that match. It was very good yesterday, but besides that, hasn't done that much today. Alright, on the play. Put into the mold of 6. Does that ever come up? Yeah. It came up yesterday a bunch. It didn't come up so much today, but yeah, it came up. It was good. I think it's a big part of like Shackles being good. And then also Shackles plus camera. So are they a Sultai deck? The Verdant Cat, they usually play only blue fetches and Dimir. Okay, they are a Sultai deck. What is Sultai? I don't know. I have to play the Jewel this turn. I think I leave this back to block. Maybe I just play. I think I'll just play second Loch Mare. Actually, they're probably pretty taxed on their number of fatal pushes. Now we have some more reps. Are we cutting Wan Shi Tong? Why would you cut Wan Shi Tong? And what would you cut it for? I think the green part is Culling Ritual in the sideboard. I don't know. I think we'll just keep an open mind here. I mean, Wand is just modern staple. We're already a 4 of Field of Ruin deck. Really want to be a 4 of Field of Ruin deck. I feel like it fits the, like, it's good with the pitch cards too. I think Wand is, like, mandatory. I wonder how Shackles plays against Frog. I remember being told Wan Shi Tong was not a modern playable card. You know, I really don't know. People like really didn't like it, and it took a long time for it to find the home, but I do think it definitely like always had that potential, but people were like really interested in giving up on it fast. So they're like Sultai Reanimator. They put a Delta in their hand and they crack the Delta. The Colosseum is intriguing. That's pretty good Dotsies. That's a pretty good draw. So I think I want to make the stun counter last. I think I'm just gonna attack. I'm just gonna attack and then stun the frog. And then think a little bit more about making a Saga token versus just drawing another card or stun countering again, but we just have those options available to us. We draw a card is mostly like if we felt like we needed to like desperation subtlety. They do mill an Archon of Cruelty, so it's possible Emperor Bones can get us. Hopefully they can't persist the Archon this turn, and hopefully we're able to Relic. Saga cannot search for Enigma Jewel. Saga can only search for stuff whose casting cost is 1 generic mana or 0 mana. Cannot search for X's. They choose the Underground Mortuary, which means if they play that this turn, they're not going to be able to Emperor of Bones the Archon. If they do persist Archon, I guess we make a Saga token, sack it, and then we like Loch Mare the Archon down second main phase, maybe? Or maybe we sack the Loch Mare we already tokened. We just really don't want to see persist. They graveyard another Archon. Nice. So now what? I think having blue pitch for subtlety means I'm just gonna go make a Saga token. Get a Relic of Progenitus. Get in there, just hold up mana. Maybe a little light in graveyard hate. We have another cage in the sideboard, although that's not very good against Emperor. Although maybe we're good at countering Emperor. So they decide to block both of these with both spawn tokens. I don't feel like there's a lot of a point in tapping this Relic of Progenitus here. My opponent peels the stun counter off the frog. Hanging out tapped here. Hanging off the tree. They unearth Emperor of Bones. Sometimes you gotta take the bait. Although I don't know, if I don't, it's gonna be very difficult for them to reanimate Archon this turn here. Now we have Snare, so impossible, I guess. I guess now it's possible that I've used the Snare. I think it's probably still good to snare that. They're still thinking. All right, well, I attack. Try not to show them the shackles, although maybe playing it as a pump spell is not the worst main phase one here. Okay, so let's go. Draw a card. Yeah, I think we were probably beating Archon, I agree. Now my opponent needs main deck Force of Vigor, which they don't have, and we win. So going to game 2, feeling pretty good about our chances to 4-1 at least. I want to bring in the Graft Digger's Cage. Needle honestly doesn't seem... Needling Frog doesn't seem too bad. I can also needle Emperor of Bones. I think I'm open to this, although it is a lot of artifacts. Scolding, countering Frog, and Emperor also seems pretty good. I think I might like to have 3 Scoldings. Maybe I even just want to have 4. Frog is like just such a pain. If I have this much, I could maybe cut the Dismember, especially with all the Shackles. They probably want to trim a Shackles. I don't know. This may be too many Shackles still. Maybe I cut the Witch's Oven if I'm bringing in all these other artifacts, and maybe I just go down to 2 on the draw with all of these 1-mana counter spells for their limited creatures. I think that probably makes some sense. Then maybe I could trim a Subtlety. Maybe I'm probably gonna play 3rd Shackles over 3rd Subtlety. Let's do that. Is the Jewel's craftability relevant? It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but it's not particularly good, I think. All right, we're on the draw. My opponent plays a tapped Hedge Maze. Some interesting draws here. Will the Needle, that's true. Good catch. Plays a Verdant Catacombs, 5 cards in their hand here. Surveils, main phase, so maybe has a Persist in their hand, and they're prioritizing the high roll. Then they unearth Emperor of Bones, so needling that could be a big priority this turn. Let's see what we draw. I think I'm probably not going to be winning this game if I'm missing land, so I think my plan is to just draw a card off the Loch Mare and hope to find a land for the Needle. Oh, in this deck, Witch's Oven lets you steal stuff with Shackles and then sacrifice it. It also, like, I think it's better than other options. Like, it gives maybe sometimes multiple artifacts for Mox Opal and other construct tokens compared to like Claws of Gix. Okay, so maybe we get just randomly rewarded for holding the Needle here. They do not have a Archon in their hand. They would have discarded the Frog. And then I can also just needle their discard outlet to kind of neuter the Emperor anyways. Although they bitter triumph my Horse Serpent. So I'm gonna needle first, and then I can, if they don't discard anything, I can play Loch Mare to block the Frog. They did discard Verdant Catacombs wisely. Still want to name Frog. Maybe I don't want to Loch Mare. I think I do want to Loch Mare. Let's get ready to rumble. And they do hit an Archon of Cruelty, which I'll concede to. We'll go to game 3. That's good enough for me. Game 3 on the play. These will be a bit easier to leverage on the play. The cheap counter magic. Could also maybe play... I think Subtlety is just not good. So I think I'm gonna play a couple disputes, and obviously they can hit frog, but also like I don't think they have too much blue. They should probably have a little other blue in the deck. Maybe they have Quantum Riddlers. They probably should have Quantum Riddlers, right? Okay, on the play. I'm gonna keep this. Typically, what I like to do if I have both Tamiyo and Jewel is lead on the Tamiyo, so I can start to like make clue tokens as well as I can, and then start sacking them for 0 mana with the Jewel. This real Shackles in 2026 modern. Yeah, I've been liking it. I've been liking it more than I expected to when I started working on the deck, and it's been pretty good. I think we're gonna do another league after this. I might chew on some changes. I don't know what changes to make necessarily. It's been feeling pretty good. I might cut the Quantum Riddler for just another island. Been kind of just feeling like we I've been missing a lot of land drops and dying because of it, and don't necessarily feel like we need the extra card advantage. It's a bit weird to balance the mana because we have 4 jewels and a Mox Opal too, but we do really just want to hit all of our land drops. So I don't know. Maybe we'll flip Tamiyo next turn. Forcing this seems okay. We have we have Persist already covered with Cage, so I don't know that we're getting many better targets for this, and we're flipping Tamiyo this turn probably. So it's not like we're particularly weak to creature removal, although we just drew another Tamiyo, so maybe that's not true. Yeah, we can also maybe look at adding Nimble Obstructionists. Although I don't that might be messing with the formula too much. I'm like kind of cold to a frog, but they didn't have a frog last turn. I think I'll play the Tamiyo. This might cost us the game. Although we can shackle this. Hope unless they have a counterspell, but now I've got a shackles myself. I like 1 or 2 signets. I think I would just add another island before I added a signet. I think the signet stuff is going to be more of a off-stream test kind of thing. I suppose I should have attacked first. I don't think you want to play cards that are bad when you don't have Jewel, and I would say Obstructionist falls in that category. Maybe. I mean, I don't think it's that bad. Like, it's like, it is like a 2-for-1 a lot of the time in those situations, but I think I just steal this now. Now, we do need our Mox Opal if we're gonna, like, activate this Improve Bones. Again, the thing also, so we could maybe play Obstructionist over Wan. I think Wan's a lot better though. But there is some weirdness. If you have Wan in play and they crack a fetch land, do you Obstructionist the fetch land or not? I don't know. It's like kind of awkward. It's kind of awkward. It's also like not that good against Boros, which is probably maybe a tiebreaker. Yeah, they're playing a Sultai Reanimator Brew. So stealing Emperor is pretty good. Although we also already have Cage in play, I guess. No. Oh, okay, I thought we were about to get Culling Ritualed. Yeah, I don't care about this. We'll just like chump and then steal the Cavero. Yeah, those filter lands are not legal in Modern, no. The other ones are, but those work with Sunken Citadel, not Enigma Jewel. Yes, Emperor does beat Cage. Again, it was good I could steal it. But I'm just saying that we already have the graveyard covered. But for the most part, I guess maybe Cage is bad if people are on Cavero and stuff, but people aren't really that on Cavero yet. And then Cage is good against Neoform and Yawgmoth. We do 4-1 this league. Yeah, I think one change I do want to make is cutting the Quantum Riddler for another island. Again, Riddler is not the same card in this deck as it is in like Goryo's or Jeskai. I do feel like I just wanted one more land. Beyond that, I think maybe we're just good for now. Good bounce back. Yeah, we'll do one more.